We're going to begin by wrapping up section 3.4, where we talked about the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. So when we look at an ordered pair for the x-intercept, it's the value of the x-coordinate and then 0 for the y-coordinate. So our definition for that could be the value of x when y is equal to 0. We also call this that the x-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. For the y-intercept, our x-coordinate is always 0, and then our y-coordinate has the value of where it crosses, our graph crosses over the y-axis. So our definitions there are the value of y when x equals 0, and then the point where the graph crosses over the y-axis. So when we are looking at a coordinate plane with our x-axis and our y-axis, and if we have some type of graph on there, we know that our x-intercept would be right here, and that our y-intercept would be right here. And we also talked about that we have different types of graphs. And so if we had something that looked like this, we can identify the x-intercepts this time there being two, one here and one here, and then the y-intercept being here. So today we're going to look at this more of being able to locate the x and the y-intercepts algebraically. And to do so algebraically, we're really going to think about what these parts of the definition means, okay? The value of x when y is 0, the value of y when x is 0. And so here we have a linear equations. All of these are linear equations, so they produce lines. And we're going to look for the x and the y-intercept. So we're going to start with the x-intercept, and I'm going to take and rewrite the equation right underneath it. 4x plus y equals 5. And then I'm going to think about, well, what does that mean to find the x-intercept? It's the value of x when y equals 0. And so therefore, in place of this y right here, that's where I'm going to put in the 0. And what I'm going to see is I'm then going to have 4x plus 0 equals 5. So that plus 0 is going to fall out of the problem, and I'm going to have 4x equals 5. And when I divide both sides by 4, I will have x equals 5/4, and that's going to be the value of my x-coordinate. When I go to find my y-coordinate, I'm going to use a similar process. I'm going to start with writing the equation that was given to me, 4x plus y equals 5. This time I'm looking for the y-intercept, so I'm going to let x equal 0. So right there, I'm going to let x equal 0. That would be 4 times 0 plus y equals 5. Well, 4 times 0 is just 0, so that's gone. And I will have y equals 5. And that's my y-intercept. Okay. So let's do a couple more, make sure that we've got the procedure down. If we look at this here, we're looking for the x and the y-intercept from this linear equation. So I'm going to say x minus y equals 1. I'm looking for the x-intercept, so I'm going to let y right there equals 0. So I'm going to have x minus 0 equals 1. I know that this minus 0 is just going to fall out of the problem. And so therefore I'm going to have x equals 1, and that's going to give me the point 1, 0. If I look at the y-intercept, I will look at this and say, here's my original equation. X minus y is equal to 1, and I'm looking for the x-intercept. Excuse me, I'm looking for the y-intercept, so in place of x, I'm going to put 0. And so I'm going to have 0 minus y equals 1. That 0 is going to fall out of the problem, and I'm going to have negative y equals 1. And if I divide both sides by negative 1, y will equal negative 1. Okay? Now, another way to do this is to just cover up what is equal to 0, okay? So if we look at the original equation here for number 3, x plus 4y equals 8. If we're looking for the x-intercept, and that's the value of x when y is 0, if y is 0, do you agree this part of the equation would be gone? And if that's gone, you could see what we're left with is x equals 8. And that gives us the 0.80. Now to do the y then, the y-intercept, the value of y when x is 0. If x is 0, that would mean this part of the equation is gone. We would have 4y equals 8. And the y-intercepted then would be 2. And so our point would be 0, 2. So it's the exact same. This process here is just a shortcut of what we have done with these two. I'll let you decide which process that you want to do, and stop the video right now and try these 3 problems. When you are finished with those 3 problems, start the video again and check your answer. All right, so looking for the x-intercept here, we are going to let y equal 0. If I let y equal 0, then what we would have is 5x equals 2. And if I divide both sides by 5, x will equal 2/5. And if I then let the x equal to 0, while I'm looking for the y-intercept, if x equals 0, this would be gone. And what I would have is y equals 2. And my y-intercept would be the 0.02. So if you're using the cross-out method, that's what it would look like. Let me do one over here, which is just using all the steps like we did in numbers 1 and 2. If we're looking for the x-intercept, we're going to do 7 times x plus 3 times 0. We're letting y equal 0 to find the value of x. And then this 3 times 0 is 0, which is gone. 7x equals negative 21. Divide both sides by 7. And that is going to give us an answer that x is equal to negative 3. And that would be the point -30. Okay. If we look at the y-intercept, we are going to put down 7 times x, which we're letting equal 0, plus 3y equals negative 21. 7 times 0, that's gone. 3y equals negative 21. We divide both sides by 3, and y will equal negative 7. This last one I'm going to show you, we will do the cover-up method, that little shortcut again. And so if we start with the x-intercept and we let y equal 0, this would be gone. We would have 3x equals 18, which is x equals 6. That's the 0.60. And if we go to find the y-intercept, we are going to let x equals 0. If x equals 0, this would be gone, and we would have 6y equals 18. Divide both sides by 6y, we equal 3. All right, as we turn the page over, we just want to make sure that given a graph, we identify and we know where to find those x and y intercepts. And so we can see that on the x-axis here, where the graph that we have happens to be a linear or a line, crosses over right here, and that's going to be the point 2, 0. We also see that on the y-axis, that our graph crosses over right here, and that is going to be the point 0, -2. If we look at the next graph, we can see that on the y-axis right here, this is our y-intercept, and that's at the point 0, +2. And then our x-intercept here, as it crosses the x-axis right here, is at the point 2, 0. Now in the next set of problems, we're going to try to put it all together. We're going to find the x and y intercepts. We're going to write them as an ordered pair, and then we're going to create the graph. Okay, so if you are someone that is doing the kind of cross out, cover over method, we can look at this and say that if we have 2x minus 3y equals 0, and we're looking for the x-intercept, that's the value of x when y is 0. If we let y equal 0, we would have 2x equals 12. And if we divide by 2, x will equal 6. And so that's going to be our intercept there, 6, 0. If we look at the y-intercept, remember the y-intercept, the value of y when x is 0. And if we let y equal 0, this would be gone. We would have -3y equals 12. When we divide both sides by -3, 12 divided by -3 gives us a -4, and that's our intercept for the y-axis. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. And that is our x-intercept. And then here, 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is our x-intercept. And then we are going to use a straight edge. So we will definitely be needing a ruler or a note card or your ID, whatever it happens to be able to make a straight line. And for a second here, I'm forgetting where my straight line option is. I will have to look for that later. It's under objects somewhere. And we're going to take and with using a straight line, we will take and draw in our line. And next video, I'll do a better job. I'll go back and review where that line feature is. If we look at our next part here, we have the problem x minus 4y equals 8. And so we're going to look for our x-intercept. And that's the value of x when y is 0. If we let y equal 0, we'll have x equals 8. That's the point 8, 0. And then if we're looking for the y-intercept, that is going to be the value of y when x is 0. And so when x is 0, we will have negative 4y equals 8. Divide both sides by negative 4, and y will equal negative 2. So our y-intercept is 0, negative 2 right here. And our x-intercept is 8, 0. So count over 8. Here we go. 8, 0. And then we're going to use a straight edge to take and draw that line. Okay, take a few minutes to review this note sheet. If you have any questions, write them down, and then I'll be able to answer them when I see you in class next time.